I am just desiring you to be inside of me right now. I miss your touch. This was the exact message she mistakenly sent to her Korean Mafia boss. She was supposed to send this to her long-distance boyfriend in Africa, and the moment she realized what she had done, her heart dropped so hard it felt like it hit the floor before her phone did. Her fingers froze mid-air, her breath caught in her throat, and her eyes locked on the name at the top of the screen, Chairman Kong, the most powerful and feared man connected to the house she cleaned every single day. She stared at it again, hoping she was wrong, hoping her eyes were lying, hoping this was some cruel glitch, but the message was there, sent, delivered, undeniable. Her body reacted before her mind could, her hands began to shake, her chest tightened, her legs felt weak, and a cold wave of fear rushed through her spine because she knew exactly who he was and what kind of man he could be when crossed. She typed fast, panic flooding her thoughts. I am so sorry, that message was a mistake, it was meant for someone else, please ignore it, I apologize. She sent it immediately, watched the screen, watched the small indicator change, read. No reply. That silence was louder than a scream. Her name was Amina Okoye, 24 years old, African, newly moved to Korea, still adjusting to the language, the culture, the loneliness, and the constant pressure of proving she deserved to be there. She didn't come chasing luxury or excitement, she came chasing stability, opportunity, and independence. She wanted to build a future, send money home, and someday close the distance between herself and the man she loved back in Africa. Their relationship survived on late-night calls, whispered fantasies, longing, and promises of patience, desire trapped behind phone screens, growing stronger the longer they were apart. That message was meant for him, a private confession of how much she missed being held, touched, wanted. Instead, it landed in the hands of a man who thrived on control. Amina worked as a cleaner in a private residence most people never even knew existed, a massive compound hidden behind elegance and silence, owned by Chairman Kong, a man whose influence stretched far beyond what money alone could buy. She wasn't supposed to matter there. She arrived early, left quietly, cleaned thoroughly, and avoided attention. She kept her head down and her presence small, blending into the background like she was trained to be invisible. But from the first week she started working there, she felt it. The way his gaze lingered when she passed by. The way conversations paused when she entered a room. The way the air shifted when he was near. He never touched her. Never spoke unnecessarily. Never crossed a visible line. Yet she always felt watched. That night, after sending the message, everything felt heavier, every sound echoed too loud, every hallway felt longer, every door felt like it could open at any moment. She tried to focus on her work, but her thoughts wouldn't slow down. Her heart raced with every step, imagining consequences she didn't want to name. Then her phone vibrated. Come to my office. Her stomach twisted. No greeting. No explanation. No softness. Just command. She considered pretending she didn't see it, considered running, considered quitting on the spot, but reality anchored her in place, her visa, her job, her survival all tied to this house and the man who owned it. She walked to his office slowly, her legs heavy, her mind racing, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might give her away. The door was open. Enter. His voice was calm, controlled, effortless. He stood near the window, his back turned, city lights glowing behind him, his posture relaxed like he wasn't holding someone's future in his hands. You sent me something interesting, he said. Her throat tightened. I apologized, she said softly. It was a mistake, I didn't mean to send it to you. Turned. His expression wasn't angry, wasn't amused, it was something far more unsettling, curiosity mixed with patience. A mistake, he repeated, is that what desire sounds like to you? Her face burned, shame and fear mixing together. I have a boyfriend, she said quickly. I would never send something like that to anyone else. Distance changes people, he replied calmly. It removes fear, makes honesty careless. He stepped closer, not invading her space, but close enough for his presence to feel heavy. You are very good at pretending you don't feel things, Amina, but that message wasn't pretend, it was honest. Her heart slammed against her ribs. I'm just a cleaner, she whispered. That's exactly why you think you have no power, he said. Silence stretched between them. You may go, he said after a moment, for tonight. Relief rushed through her body so fast it almost made her dizzy. But starting tomorrow, you work only on my private floor. She frowned, confused, because I don't like pretending I didn't notice something when I did. Days passed. Nothing happened. No threats. No inappropriate comments. No confrontation. And that unsettled her more than anything. Her schedule changed, fewer people around, more quiet, more time in his space, more awareness of his presence. He never touched her. Never mentioned the message. Never crossed a line. But he watched her. She felt it in the pauses, in the way his eyes followed her movements, in the way he seemed to notice small things about her mood, her energy, her silence. At the same time, her personal life began to unravel. Her boyfriend's calls became less frequent. His messages shorter. His voice distant. She told herself it was stress, time difference, life. Until one night he said it out loud. I think we need space, he said, this distance is changing us. Her chest tightened, her eyes burned, but she didn't beg. She hung up, sat alone in her small room, and cried quietly, feeling something inside her crack. The next time Chairman Kong saw her, he noticed. You're different, he said. I'm fine, she replied automatically. No, you're not. That was the first time his voice softened. People think power is about taking, he continued. It's not. Real power is recognizing vulnerability and deciding how to respond to it. Her hands clenched. What do you want from me, she asked, her voice barely steady. He stepped closer, not threatening, not forceful, just present. A choice. That single word echoed in her mind. Not an order. Not a demand. A choice. You may leave this job, he said calmly. I will ensure you land somewhere safe, or you may stay and stop pretending you don't feel the tension between us. Her breath hitched. I won't force you, he added. I don't need to. Her heart raced, confusion and curiosity battling fear. Why me, Shias? Because you don't know how powerful you are yet, he replied, and because you're tired of being invisible. That night, Amina lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying his words, replaying the message, replaying the loneliness she tried so hard to bury. She realized something that scared her. For the first time since she moved to Korea, someone saw her fully. Not as a cleaner. Not as background. Not as disposable. And that realization was just as dangerous as it was tempting. Because deep down, beneath fear and morals and caution, a quiet part of her wondered what it would feel like to stop running from desire and step into a world where power and control were clear, honest, and mutual. She didn't know it yet, but the text message wasn't the beginning of her downfall. It was the beginning of her transformation. And the next choice she made would flip the power dynamic in ways neither of them expected. Amina did not give him an answer that night. She left his office with her mind spinning, her emotions tangled, and a strange heat sitting beneath her fear. She walked back to her small room like she was moving through water, slow, heavy, disconnected from her body. She told herself she needed time. That she was overwhelmed. That any woman in her position would be confused. But deep down, she knew the truth she was afraid to say out loud. She wasn't just scared. She was tempted. That realization made her angry with herself. She lay on her bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every word he said, every look, every pause. Power. Visibility. Words that echoed louder in her head than they should have. She reached for her phone and opened her messages, scrolling through old conversations with her boyfriend. Messages full of affection, longing, promises. Once, those words made her feel secure. Now they felt distant, almost hollow. She typed a message. I miss you. Then deleted it. For the first time since she left Africa, she felt truly alone. The next morning, she returned to work determined to bury everything she felt under routine. She cleaned meticulously, moved quietly, avoided lingering anywhere near his office. But something had changed. He didn't look at her. Not even once. No subtle glances. No pauses. No awareness. He treated her like she truly didn't exist. And that bothered her more than it should have. As the days passed, his silence became unbearable. Not because she needed his attention, but because she realized how much she had begun to measure her presence through it. That realization scared her. One evening, after everyone had left and the house settled into its familiar stillness, his office door opened. "You're still working," he said. She nodded without looking at him. "You avoid me now." "I'm doing my job," she replied. He studied her quietly. "You're punishing yourself for wanting something," he said. She looked up sharply. "I don't want this." "Then why does my silence bother you?" She didn't answer. "Tomorrow, stay after your shift," he said calmly. "But because unresolved tension is dangerous," he replied, "and I don't allow dangerous things in my house." That night she barely slept. Her body felt restless, alert, like it was waiting for something inevitable. The next evening, she stood in his office again, but this time the atmosphere was different. The lights were brighter, the doors open, the setting deliberate. She sat across from him, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "You think this is about desire," he said, "but it's about control, and control only becomes dangerous when it's unspoken." "I don't want to be owned," she said. "Then don't give yourself to anyone who doesn't earn it," he replied. Silence followed. "I won't touch you," he said, "unless you ask me to, and I won't pursue you beyond tonight." Her heart pounded. "Why give me that power?" "Because you underestimate yourself," he said, "and I don't." Her throat tightened. "What happens if I say no?" "Then nothing changes," he replied, "and you continue being invisible to the world that already overlooks you." That sentence landed hard. "And what if I say yes?" "Then you step into something honest, structured, and dangerous," he said, "and you learn exactly how much control you actually have." She sat back, breathing slowly. "I'll stay," she said finally. Not because she was weak. Not because she was desperate. Because something inside her refused to keep hiding. He nodded. "Then we proceed carefully." From that moment, everything shifted. There was no secret affair. No rushed intimacy. No stolen touches. Instead, there were conversations. Long ones. He asked her questions no one ever had. About her childhood. Her fears. Her ambitions. He listened in a way that made her feel exposed without being violated. She pushed back when she disagreed. Challenged him when she felt underestimated. And slowly, she realized something unsettling. He respected her resistance. The dynamic was changing. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was choosing. But power always attracts danger. One afternoon, while cleaning near the service corridor, she overheard voices. Two men speaking quietly, their tone sharp and deliberate. She froze when she heard her name. They weren't discussing her work. They were discussing her value. Her heart raced as she listened. They knew about her closeness to him. They saw her as leverage. As a weakness. She stepped away before they noticed her, her hands shaking, her thoughts racing. That night she didn't hesitate. "You put a target on me," she said the moment she entered his office. He didn't deny it. "Power exposes everything around it," he said. "You said I had a choice. You still do." Her chest tightened. "I didn't choose to be hunted. And I didn't choose to let you be vulnerable," he replied. "Then protect me," she said, her voice steady despite the fear beneath it. He stood slowly, walking toward her. "I already am," he said, "but protection comes with awareness, and awareness requires strength." For the first time, she saw concern in his eyes. Not possession. Not desire. Concern. That was the moment something irreversible happened. She realized she was no longer just reacting to his world. She was becoming part of it. Days later, her ex-boyfriend called. She hesitated before answering. His voice sounded unfamiliar. "I heard you're close to someone powerful," he said. Her stomach dropped. "How did you hear that?" "People talk," he replied. She ended the call shaking. The walls were closing in. That night, she stood alone in her room, staring at her reflection, barely recognizing the woman looking back at her. Stronger posture. Sharper eyes. Less fear. She whispered to herself that she was still in control. But deep down she knew. This wasn't just about desire anymore. It was about survival. And the next move she made would determine whether she remained a pawn or became something far more dangerous. Amina understood something now that she hadn't before. This was no longer about attraction. It was about survival, power, and who would control the story before the story controlled them. The call from her ex-boyfriend haunted her for days. The way his voice sounded informed, not curious. The way he said powerful, like it was a warning and not admiration. Someone had been talking. Someone had been watching. And in a world like Chairman Kang's, watching was never passive. She became hyper-aware of everything. Of the cars that lingered too long outside the compound. Of unfamiliar faces among the staff. Of conversations that stopped when she entered a room. She was no longer invisible. That realization came with fear, but also with something else. Clarity. One night, she walked into Kang's office without being summoned. No apology. No hesitation. "We need to talk," she said. He looked up from his desk, calm as ever, but his eyes sharpened. "You're learning to knock less," he observed. "I don't have time to be polite," she replied. That earned her a slow smile. But she told him everything. The overheard conversation. The call from her ex. The feeling of being watched. She didn't soften her words or hide her anger. "You said this was a choice," she said, "but choices don't mean much when everyone else gets a vote." He listened without interrupting. When she finished, he stood and walked toward the window, hands clasped behind his back. "You were always going to be noticed once you stepped out of the shadows," he said. "Then you should have warned me." "I did," he replied, "you just didn't understand the scale yet." That made her furious. "You don't get to decide when I'm ready for danger." "No," he said calmly, "but you do get to decide what kind of woman danger meets." She stared at him. "And what kind is that?" "One who stops reacting and starts planning." That night, something shifted permanently. He began teaching her. Not in obvious ways. Not like a mentor. But in fragments. Conversations. Observations. Subtle tests. He showed her how power moved through silence. How information was more valuable than loyalty. How people revealed their intentions when they thought they were in control. And Amina learned fast. Too fast. She noticed patterns he didn't expect her to catch. Asked questions he didn't anticipate. Drew conclusions that unsettled even him. Soon she realized the truth. She was not just a vulnerability in his world. She was becoming an asset. But assets attract enemies. The real danger revealed itself weeks later. One of Kang's closest allies requested a private meeting. A man whose smile never reached his eyes. A man who watched Amina like she was already owned. "He wants you removed," Kang told her afterward. "Removed how?" she asked. "From my presence," he replied, "or from the city entirely." Her blood ran cold. "But because he thinks you're my weakness." She laughed softly, surprising herself. "Let him." Kang turned to her sharply. "You're not afraid." "No," she said, "because I finally understand something." "Which is?" "They only see me as your weakness because they don't know I've been watching them too." Silence filled the room. "What do you mean?" Kang asked. "I mean I know who's leaking information," she replied. "I know who benefits from framing you as compromised. And I know who thinks I'm disposable." His expression changed. "That's dangerous knowledge." "Exactly," she said, "and that's why I'm useful." For the first time, he didn't look in control. He looked impressed. And concerned. "What are you proposing?" "Let them think I'm still just a cleaner who stumbled into your world," she said. "Let them underestimate me. I'll give them what they expect." "Which is?" "A mistake." The plan unfolded quietly. Amina began acting careless. Staying out later. Being seen in places she shouldn't. Letting rumors grow. Letting people believe she was overwhelmed, emotionally compromised, weak. They took the bait. One night she was followed. She knew it before they confirmed it. She led them exactly where she wanted. By the time Kang intervened, everything was already done. The evidence. The recordings. The exposed betrayal. She handed it all to him without ceremony. "You set a trap using yourself," he said, his voice tight. "I used what they already believed about me," she replied. That was the moment he understood the truth. She was no longer under his control. She never really had been. After that, the dynamic between them changed completely. He didn't instruct anymore. He consulted. She didn't wait to be protected. She anticipated threats. And then came the final twist. The one no one saw coming. Her ex-boyfriend appeared in Seoul. He requested a meeting with Kang. Against Amina's advice, Kang agreed. The man walked in confident, smug, convinced he held leverage. He didn't. Amina sat quietly as the truth unraveled. Her ex had been feeding information for months, trading intimacy for access, using their history to get close to her emotionally while reporting back to rivals. When Kang finished speaking, the man was pale. "You were never my mistake," Amina said calmly. "You were my lesson." She walked out without looking back. That night, she stood alone on the balcony overlooking the city lights of Seoul. The same city that once made her feel small. The same city that nearly swallowed her. Kang joined her. "You changed everything," he said. "So did you," she replied. "What happens now?" She turned to face him fully. "Now we redefine control. Not as domination. Not as fear. But as awareness." He studied her, then nodded slowly. "You were never meant to remain invisible, Amina Okoi." "Neither were you meant to own me," she replied. Silence settled between them, not tense, not heavy, but balanced. The text message that started everything had not ruined her life. It had exposed it. And the woman who once trembled over a single mistake now stood unafraid, fully aware of her power, her desire, and her place in a world that underestimated her. She didn't belong to control anymore. She understood it. And that understanding was far more dangerous. If this story moved you, disturbed you, or made you think deeply, like this video. If you felt connected to Amina's journey, leave a comment and tell us your thoughts. Share this story with someone who loves powerful, emotional storytelling. And subscribe to Afro-Korean Chronicles for more Afro-Korean stories filled with desire, suspense, power, and unforgettable twists. Because sometimes, one accidental message doesn't ruin a life. It reveals who you were always meant to become.